welcome to Hard Talk Extra. I'm Gavin Esler. My guest today here at Pinewood Studios is one of the most recognizable women in the world, a Hollywood A-list celebrity and Oscar-winning actress, probably best known for her role as Lara Croft in the film Tomb Raider. So how does she reconcile all the glamour of Hollywood with her other role as a campaigner against landmines and on behalf of some of the poorest and most deprived children in the world? Angelina Jolie, welcome to Hard Talk Extra.
Thank you.
There's a lot of people in Hollywood who get involved in charity work or voluntary work, but yours seems to take a huge proportion of your life. Why have you let it get that way?
God, it's been the greatest blessing in my life to have. I grew up not sheltered, but I grew up in a nice area, and I went to school, and I didn't realize how much of the world I was unaware of until I had the good fortune of traveling because of my film work. And then I got to these areas like Cambodia, and I was just completely shocked by this very real world with so many things going on, and so many people in need, and so many different areas that I could get involved in and do something and be effective. So I felt, I felt lucky that I had my eyes opened, and then I just wanted to do something.
Tell me a bit about the landmine campaign and why you got involved in that, why you feel so passionately about that.
I think it's angering that not everybody has signed this treaty to ban landmines. It's disgusting. It really is, because it is fact that it hurts a high percentage of civilians. It is not effective in any other real way. They have enough weapons for war. This hurts civilians. And I went to Cambodia a few years ago, and I was stunned when we were filming, and they said, you can't go over there because it's covered in landmines, and don't walk through that waterfall because it hasn't been checked yet. And then you go to the local market, and there are kids who are blind with no arms, and there's so many people with no legs, and there's so many orphans, and there's so many. And in the place I live now, we demined it, and we found 48. And
on your property
on my
in Cambodia?
property, we found 48. And last time we were there, a man came running and said somebody just stepped on. They had to borrow the helicopter to take him to the hospital. And what that means is not just civilians are dying, but also for Afghanistan, for all the places in the world where people are returning and need to rebuild their areas. You can't farm in this land. You can't build your house. You can't let your kids walk around. You cannot begin your life. You cannot have a stable country. It ruins everything.
And the point about Cambodia, of course, is it's a country at peace.
It is a country, yeah, absolutely. And all of these, but so many, now I just was on the Burma border, and I believe you have an image of one of the young men I met who talked to me about he was running, and as he was running, because he wanted to cross the border. This is another thing. People who are trying to cross the border to become refugees, they want to cross out of a country where they're feeling persecuted or in danger into a place that's safe. That border is mined. So they're running with their kids, and they're running through this area where, and this 14-year-old boy I met, he ran right into one. He said he ran for another 2 minutes because he was so scared, and until he passed out, and then somebody carried him over.
This is after the bomb went off. He ran for 2 more minutes.
He ran for 2 minutes.
These people that you were talking about know that the border is mined, so the desperation of risking their lives to escape.
And that's Burma, and that's a whole other situation that I certainly don't have the answer to or understand it completely.
What do you think you can, because you straddle two worlds, you're best known for Hollywood and all that sort of stuff, so what do you think you can do about this?
I think just simply, I wish I could do more, but I think I'm most useful probably in just spreading awareness. Just talking to people who maybe would enjoy a film and would otherwise not care about things in the world, and I meet some 16-year-old girls who suddenly, are curious and have looked things up on the web and want to get involved, and hopefully they'll grow up to be active adults and change things, and just to get people thinking about these things and not forgetting them.
A lot of the countries that won't sign up to this, to ban landmines, are places like Burma, which have had a difficult human rights record for years and years. But also the United States.
Absolutely, yeah.
As an American, what do you make of that?
I'm ashamed of it, because I know how strong the U.S. They're a strange animal, because they spend a lot of of money on demining. They actually put a lot of money into demining. They're one of the countries that spend a lot of this, humanitarian cleanup money, and yet they have this huge stockpile. There was a lot of talk a few years ago about was the U.S. going to sign, and then recently they decided no, they're going to make safer landmines, which I don't even. What does that mean? That means that you're going to limit the amount of time it can kill people maybe by a year. I don't actually understand that, and I don't think there's anything such as a safe landmine, personally. The most upsetting thing is that the U.S., they're a leader in the world, and if they don't sign, then how do you expect to convince Russia and China and Iran and Pakistan and all these other countries to sign? They simply won't. And I've asked, and they said that the U.S. they feel it's against their constitutional right to bear arms, or they've said that it's needed in the North and South Korea on the border. I don't think any of these are good enough excuses for the damage. If they would sign, then you could push everybody else and we could have a mine-free world. I'd like to believe that. I'm sure that we're going to have, there are other countries. It's not just the U.S., certainly Russia, certainly China. All of them need to, but really it is such it could make such a difference. The United States government could make such a difference if it made this choice, and it could help so much, and it would save lives. Fact, it would save thousands of lives and have less children orphaned, and it would just be such an important thing, and that's the future I want for my kids.
How did you get involved in the United Nations as a Goodwill ambassador and the other campaigns that you were involved in? Because you've travelled to all sorts of places that would not be immediately on the shooting itinerary for the Hollywood star.
I came back from Cambodia a few years ago, and I went to shoot the first Tomb Raider. I went to Cambodia, and I was very moved by the people, and like I said, shocked by the landmine situation, the refugees who had returned, and what that meant. And I came home and I wanted to follow the story and what was going on in Sierra Leone at the time.
Which was a civil war.
Which was a civil war. And I came back. I had been listening to BBC, but I came back and I couldn't follow the story as much at home. So I was really frustrated, and I called some people I knew who were part of different organizations, and I said, can anybody get me every book you got on different NGOs, on different organizations, campaigns, things going on? And I said, I'm really interested in the United Nations, and that's not perfect, but I do like what it's fighting for and what it could stand for if done right. So I got all these books, and I sat up for nights and nights just reading everything, and I read about UNHCR and how they were taking care at the time of 20 million people who had been displaced, and the idea of refugees, and I saw images from Rwanda and the numbers around the world, and I could not believe that today that was possible, that what refugee camps were, where hundreds of thousands of people are displaced with no movement and no freedom, and who have been abused and the rights taken away, and it just didn't make sense to me that was happening today. I was that naive, and so I started to learn.